if someone admires the work you're doing and they come up to you and go like, what tool did you use? Did you use paintbrush? What was this acrylic? Like they're curious, they're intrigued because they're admiring the work you did, but they themselves are like, I want to either do this or I can just admire what you're doing. No one's gonna go like, I'm not telling you the tools I've used. Like, no, you want to share that because it's still the other person has to have the talent, has to know how to use the tool, has to want to do that.
Welcome to the Creative Chats podcast with Mike Brennan. Welcome to another episode of Creative Chats. It's the podcast for artists, makers, and content creators where we talk about creativity, the creative process, and story. I'm your host, Mike Brennan. I'd love to invite you to stop by dailycreativehabit.com. I have created all sorts of resources for you because I truly believe that when you create, we all win. So I want to see as many of you stepping into your creativity fully, closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And I want to help you do that. So I've created resources like the Daily Creative Habit Journal. I've written a book, Make Fun a Habit. I have all sorts of free resources like this podcast and a Facebook group called Daily Creative Habit. Also, the paid membership for Daily Creative Habit, where we get together with like-minded creators, all pushing in the same direction, encouraging each other, and saying we're going to show up every single day to create something to get our work out there into the world. So if you would like to be a part of any of those things, again, stop by dailycreativehabit.com or simply visit my website, which is mikebrennan.me. If you've ever felt the pressure of creating a lot of content, of needing to come up with that content and put it on social media, all the places, and it just feeling like it's heavy because you're just like, oh, is there one more thing that I have to do? I don't know how to keep up with all this. And maybe you're someone, you have some things floating around your head and you've had difficulty in just sitting down and writing it out or getting it to the place where you can actually share it. Well, today I sit down with Greg Wasserman of Castmagic. It is a platform that I use, and full disclosure, for this podcast that you're listening to right now. It is a tool that allows me to actually take the recording and glean all sorts of questions and insights and information easily so that I can share it with you. Like the show notes for this podcast are done using Castmagic. And so we talk about just some case usage. We talk about some features. This is a little bit of a different podcast that maybe leans a little bit more towards how to. But I think it's important because, I'm a believer in this. And this isn't me trying to sell you anything. I mentioned that on the podcast. This is me just sharing a tool that I'm excited to use and that actually makes my life easier. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation and share it with you. Plus, Greg is a great guy. You can tell just from the beginning of our conversation, he cares about people and loves to connect with people. So by all means, lean in, take some notes, be sure to connect with Greg and listen for just a promo code that he's offering for free 30 days of Castmagic, and listen in to get some ideas on how you can use this platform to help leverage the audio, the video, the messaging that you need to put out there into the world. So without further ado, here is my creative chat with Greg Wasserman. Well, Greg, welcome to the Creative Chats podcast. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Mike, and thanks for everyone tuning in to listen to me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm thankful to be connected with you. I'm excited to be talking about Castmagic today and just what that is and where it came from and the fact that this brought us together. This is something that is why we're having this conversation today. And so this is exciting for me. I think it's going to be inspirational. I think it's going to be practical and give some people some solutions that maybe they didn't even know that they needed. So, yeah. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I love that you set it up as like it was a platform that brought us together. And that just goes to like my ethos is life is about time and relationships. The head of relationships for a company. It's like you literally get to be brought together because of a shared interest over how do we work smarter? How do we make more money? And then of course the podcasting world always brings us all together.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So dial us back to like, okay, what does your journey look like to get to the point where you are now with Castmagic? Like, give us a little bit of context. So before we dive into what Castmagic is and all the things.
So from the journey of Greg, I was born and raised in Chicago, moved out to LA for college and just never left because, well, the weather's great here. And Chicago's the greatest city, but the weather, not the greatest, right? So I spent about the majority of my career, 15 or plus years in media sales. So covering the West Coast and the country, literally working with brands and agencies and understand the value of marketing in that regards. As a marketing major in college, so it was a fit. Um, Ended up finding a passion for partnerships as I transitioned out of the media world. And that led me to a mobile app company in the podcast space where we manage 3 podcast listing platforms. And then I get to connect with great people like you and find out the amazing world of podcasting. And as a result of that, you come to realize podcasters have 3 questions. How do I get more distribution? How do I grow my audience? And how do I monetize? And if my background is in media, that third one, monetization, was just always struck a nerve because you're like, do you even understand what goes into buying a sponsorship, selling a sponsorship, and ads and all those other components that most people, especially creatives that have a voice that are trying to talk about something, don't understand. So through that, I posted every Monday on LinkedIn, 3 podcasts I think people should listen to, always trying to elevate other shows and creators out there. But also, we're always so stuck in our ways of going like, what did you watch on TV? What did you watch on Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is? But there's so much content like your show that I'm sure people could go ahead and listen. And that first one of like, how do I get more audience? How to grow more distribution? I'm like, let me help people in that regards. And that ended up getting a job here with Castmagic because the guys that created Castmagic have a podcast. Before they built Castmagic, I posted their show on my LinkedIn post. They built Castmagic, and now we are speaking here today
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, they created something that I saw podcasters and creators just needing. And I'm like, this is amazing. You guys build. I will gladly go and evangelize this from every treetop possible. And that's basically
Nice.
it.
Yeah. I love it. It's the web of connections, right? And following the breadcrumbs of like, okay, here's an interest, here's a curiosity, you're following that, you go through that door, that opens up more relationship, that opens up more opportunity. And so I love how even just as you relayed that part of your story, that's very clear that that was the pathway.
And that, like I said, life is about time and relationships. And as I would say, you have no clue where one conversation will take you. So have that conversation and see where it takes you, right? And I found that especially in my career in sales, like when you're out there trying to sell whatever widget I was trying to sell, right? You'd either get the door slammed on you or you get ghosted or no one responds. And finally getting people to understand, look, maybe my product isn't the right product for you, but we're still human, so none of us know where our path is going to go.
Hmm.
I mean, could you say you'd be on this mic right now talking to me with an audience of listening to you 5 years ago, 10 years ago? No, that wasn't probably a goal you had. It was just more being a creative in that regard.
Hmm.
So if you just have that mindset of like, let's connect, let's talk. Maybe my solution isn't going to be the right one for you. Doesn't matter. We like each other as people. I got other people that I know, as you said, in my web of connections that I can go ahead and introduce you to, and I'll save you time. I'll help you figure out what the solution you need by people I know. And that's the way I treat things. And that's the way I'm
Yeah.
always having conversations with people about.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. So in terms of Castmagic, why is I mean, for me, obviously being a podcaster, I know the value in it and I use it, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll give people the peek behind the curtain a little bit, right? But someone who's listening right now who's an artist, visual artist, maybe they're a musician, maybe they're videographer, or they're a writer. Like there's multiple streams of whatever they could be doing in terms of their creative aspirations and expressions. How can Castmagic actually help them?
It just came to me, so I'm going to go with this analogy right now. But doctors, nurses, they go into years of practice so that they become that profession, right? But no one actually teaches them the art of business, like what it means to run your own practice, the legalities, the software, all the marketing, all those different nuanced components. They're like, I just spent all this time in school to learn how to be a surgeon and cut things precisely, whatever the case may be. But there's no business classes there. And so
Right.
that would be the piece I would say for creatives, no different. It's like you've gone to school, you were an amazing graphic designer, you were an amazing artist. Maybe you didn't even, you're just natural and you self-taught yourself, but no one actually is teaching you the business side. So at the end of the day, you have to figure out either you are a Taylor Swift who's incredibly smart with her business and she realizes like I'm an artist, but I'm also a business. Jay-Z line, right? He's like, I'm a business man, not got to use that comma, right? So most creatives, most people go into an art and they don't have the rest of all the other skills they need. So a platform like Castmagic allows you then from the marketing standpoint, or how do we help you from a arranging words and being able to build a brand. So if we go back to your web of connections in my LinkedIn post, it's like people want to hire you, not because of the amazing artwork you do, not because of the amazing singing you do, but you're also a good person. We go and look at actors. You think about some of the greatest actors and actresses out there that still can't get work. Why? They could be talented, but no one wants to work with them because they're not good people or they're difficult on set. So how do you better market yourself? Cast Magic becomes a tool, and we can talk about like what it does, but like I would say it becomes a platform that helps you get your brand out there, gets your portfolio out there, and helps elevate you as a brand, which is what I tell podcasters. Stop treating yourself as a podcaster, treat yourself as a brand. When you treat yourself as a brand, you are constantly putting yourself out there so that more people know you. And therefore, when they know you, they like you, hopefully, right? And then therefore they'll come back and go like, I know this person because I've seen this person and their work constantly is coming up. That's basically it.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you underscore that because for you're right. For many creative people, it's stumbling into the business side, stumbling into entrepreneurship, and trying to figure out. I mean, that was certainly my take on things because I worked in several places where I was on staff at companies and they dealt with all the business stuff and I just showed up and brought my skill set. And then all of a sudden one day it's like that business isn't there. I'm in business for myself and I'm having to learn like, oh, how do you do this? How do you set these systems up? What are what software do you use for different things? Like how do you even have a plan for things for marketing and for, all the things? It can be very overwhelming. And so certainly when I came across Castmagic in terms of even from me helping with the podcast and giving me a place where it could just help me get to things quicker and easier and give me ideas for some things that I wasn't even thinking about, honestly. And there's certainly more in there that I could leverage and probably will over time. And especially because you guys are really great with updates and just putting in new features and things as well, which I really appreciate. But like let's now get into some nitty gritty of like, okay, what does this look like? How does this operate? Give people a little context for like what would they experience when they get on the platform?
Yeah, I guess everyone listening's like, what is it? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
So give you guys all context. So Cast Magic's an AI platform that prides ourselves as a workspace to turn any conversation into content to repurpose like magic. And so if you think about every conversation, whether it's a podcast, whether it is a webinar, whether it is a course, whether it is your own, like this is how I use it mainly. I've got thoughts. I don't want to sit there and try and type my thoughts. I don't want to sit there and drive and with one hand text. Like, no, that's not happening. I can take out my phone, take out the Castmagic app, and just record the ramblings of Greg and go, all right, ramblings of Greg, Castmagic, turn this into whatever I want it to turn it into. Whether it's a LinkedIn post, whether it's an idea for a business, whatever I need to expand it on, that's what Castmagic's allowing me to do. So take your conversation, audio, video, does both. And then out of the box, we're going to give you a slew of content in text form. So for podcasters, it's show notes, it's titles, it's descriptions. But then there's like a ChatGPT functionality built in. Come up with your own prompts. I give you full control. What do you want to create? What do you want to extract? So for me, like I said, I use it to build out, my LinkedIn posts. I'm like, great. Here are the ramblings of Greg, whatever the minute or 2 minute of thoughts I've had, turn that now into a post that I can put on LinkedIn so that people know what my thoughts are without me having to sit here and try and figure out the structure of a prompt or structure of a post or the structure of my ramblings.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in terms of like if someone's listening and they're a visual artist and they want to share the story behind a certain painting or series that they've done this video and perhaps, they want to post this all over social media and do things with it and leverage the content that's already there, right? So they can get on the platform, they can feed it into, various prompts and extract out of that titles for things, questions that you can actually use for follow-up. You can put in there, there's quotes that are extracted from things, right? If you're more than one person talking on some things, right? Is there any other thing that you can think of, like this would be a great usage for someone like that?
So the biggest thing I've started realizing, and I'll call the kettle black, I'm guilty of this as well, is we're so focused on creating that we forget once it's created, you've got a treasure of content that you're able to go out there and consistently post. And that even if I've posted it today, most of us go, I posted it today, I'm done. I've posted it, no need to post it again. People read it. Let's be real. You don't know, A, who saw it the first time you posted it. B, did it resonate? C, even if they read it, are they going to take action? Are they going to remember? Right? So you've now got the ability with a tool like Castmagic to record my thoughts and come up with 10 different, in my case, LinkedIn posts going, great. I now know for the next 6 months, I can seed in those 10 different little ideas that stemmed from that one little 3-minute brain dump I had and throw in whatever visuals I may want to hammer home that idea if that's what I want to do. But like ultimately, if you are always trying to, I'll take the examples. You've got 2 amazing art pieces you've done behind you. If you want to tell the story of why you painted those, why the colors and everything else, you could record your ramblings of why that came about and then turn that into 10 pieces of LinkedIn content, just as an example. So now for the next 6 months, you can always seed, hey, you want to buy this painting? Here's the story behind it. And each story is a little seed of whatever it is that came from that 3-minute. Like that, most of us aren't doing. Most of us are like, I post once, move on to the next post. And the next post is completely different, has nothing to do with the original post. But in reality, keep it going. Make yourself work smarter by having that content you can always post back to that one original idea. And we all know this. You and I could say the same thing to a person, and we're like, we just said the same thing, but maybe Sally comes in here and she says it maybe slightly different or maybe the same exact way, but Sally's voice isn't as annoying as my voice, and that person's light bulb moment goes off. If we think about that, that's the value of Castmagic. You have to always keep posting it. How you say it matters, but even if you said the same thing 10 times over the course of 6 months, I guarantee you most people aren't going to go like, Mike already said that exact. Like, I feel like deja vu. Like, most people won't remember. The only person that's remembering is you, but most of us are also self-centered, that we only care about ourselves. So if you remember that, they're not paying attention to everything that Mike does, or all of you that are listening, they're not paying attention as much as we may hope it. And that's where the value of a platform, taking your conversation and being able to repurpose it and work smarter that way.
Yeah. I heard somebody say once, just when you feel like you're getting sick of whatever it is that you might be talking about, that's actually when people are just starting to listen. So, it is multiple touch points for sure. And I think you touched on something really that I hear a lot in terms of keeping up with social media, having this, I need to post on multiple platforms and do all the things I'm supposed to be doing. And it just gets heavy for people. It gets to be something that's like unwieldy. And so typically what people then go is like, I'm out. I'm just going to not do anything. Or maybe I'll just do something whenever I feel like it. But there's not necessarily a strategy behind it. It's just kind of like, I'm there. It's on life support. It's kind of doing something. But what that is, I don't really know. And what you're saying is like, this actually gives us options and content that we can access easily enough where we can actually spend, like, I know for me, it affords me the ability to spend time on the things that I actually want to do and that actually matter more than, oh man, now I have to sit and spend hours crafting the perfect captions for this and crafting, what are the hashtags to use and what are all the, and so it just is an incredible cut to the front of the line where even if you don't just copy and paste, which I don't necessarily suggest that you do that. I suggest that you review it, make sure it's nuanced enough, and make sure you're changing some things to be doing what you want it to do. Don't use it like clip art, right? But I think it gives you the cut to the front of the line to be able to give you that content, to be able to give you all the things you need so that you feel less overwhelmed, right? I mean, has that been a lot of the conversations you've been in? Have you experienced that with people?
I mean, take yourself as an example. You have over 100 episodes of your podcast. Most podcasters stop after a few episodes. You have pod fade. It's like there's so much work that goes into it. It becomes overwhelming. It doesn't become fun anymore.
Right.
You're thinking about who are my guests, am I editing, like all those things. Take it from an artist standpoint, same thing. You're like, oh, I've got to draw another tree and I've got to perfect it. Like I'm done drawing, or you lose your creative inspiration, whatever it is. But if you had a tool that allowed you to start from a canvas you've already got and then just build on that and still make it your own and still make it creative, you're not gonna be overwhelmed. You're not gonna fade out. And I'd say that's a key piece for anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of your personal favorite features of Castmagic?
Um, I love Pages. So what Pages allows me to do is take multiple recordings. So the way Castmagic's broken down is there's spaces. If you think about it from a visual standpoint, spaces are like folders with recordings of whatever you want your recording to be. We will provide you all the insights you want to extract from each individual recording, but we all know, take you an example, right? You've got over 100 episodes of podcast. What if you can go back and look at like, hold on, I have 5 podcasts where people talked about relationships. It'd be really cool if I combined those 5 episodes and created a playbook of like, here's what these 5 guests have said are the keys to building relationships. Well, you can now use feature Pages within Castmagic to aggregate up to 5 recordings to create that. I've used it to take coaching calls and go, let me turn that into a course because I know what I'm coaching on. I know what I'm talking about is valuable. And I'm saying this day in and day out to people. Why wouldn't I just build a course and go, okay, instead of one-to-one, let's do one-to-many. And now let's record that, put it on whatever platform of choice you want to teach people. And now you just went from being a one-on-one coach or a solopreneur to like, I get to teach all these great people, all the knowledge things that I've had, or all the pieces of conversations I've had. I think that becomes incredible because now, once again, how do we take any conversation and help you repurpose it? Now I'm taking all of your conversations, sales calls, coaching calls, podcasting, brain dumps, and turning them into something else and extracting great value from it.
I love that. And, even as timely as I think it was either this morning, last night, I'm a little like foggy on exactly when I did this with all the things going on. But I have this membership, the Daily Creative Habit membership, and we meet, we have a live call once a month. And so we had that live call this week. It was recorded on Zoom, and, I send it out to everybody as kind of, here's what we talked about in case you need the replay, in case you couldn't make it, whatever. And I said, what, let me feed that into Castmagic and just see what I can extract from this, because I know there are things that were said, and I don't necessarily want to watch 90 minutes of a call to go back and find things. And so being able to have the transcript was helpful for me to isolate some content, even some things that I said that I'm like, oh, this is something that I talk about, but maybe I said this in a different way, like you were referring to before. And I actually was able to use that to extract a piece of the video from that and use that on social media to be like, here's something that we talk about on the calls. And this is why this is important to be in this community. Also, I extracted a bunch of questions that were follow-up that were related to content that we talked about. And maybe it wasn't necessarily put in those terms, but it gave me some things to go, oh, wow. Like I'm seeing some places where these things come up again and again. They're major topics, and it helps to kind of categorize and capture those things in a way that's much more portable than me, again, just kind of going like, I know we talked about something of that. I know I said that someplace, but now I can actually access that information. And I'm going to use those questions as follow-up in the group and to be like, hey, we talked about on our call these various different things. Here's one thing that I want to just go really zoom in on and say, let's talk about this one question. What does this mean for you? So having that ability is tremendous, because then I'm not going, okay, I know I need to come up with more content for the group. I know I need to keep the engagement going and all these things, but it's giving me the ability to do that very easily. So yes, thank you.
I love that you finally realized that you've got that. And that goes back to every conversation, there's value. The problem is most of us are so focused on it has to be perfect for us to hit record. And the value is record it all, because there's nuggets. Nothing, I say this all the time, nothing's worse than being in a meeting. You said something smart, and you're like, oh, what did I just say? And it blinks. And the person that's staring at you, you're like, what did I just say? And they're like, I know I heard you. And I'm going to look at you like a deer in headlights because I can't remember exactly what you said. And you're both trying to stumble over like word for word. It was like, it was perfect. Well, if you start recording those conversations, you don't have to have that worry. You can now sit back, relax, and go like, I'm just going to ramble. We're just going to talk. You need to edit, great, but let a tool like Castmagic pull out what you've just said. Get your questions. I love how you're doing that. Cool thing I've seen people doing is they use the visual component, so Studio, to take those questions and turn them into actual visual assets. And so instead of just posting, hey, community, here's the question, it's posting it as a visual where people are like, wow, this takes over the page. You can actually see it. And now you've got more of an engagement function and so forth. So you can use those also as creators. You're trying to engage with others out there in the social world, whether it's blogs, like you're like, I want to sound smart. I know I can say these things. So what questions can I start posing to people? They're your own thoughts. So it's written with AI based on what you've said. That's different than going to ChatGPT and going, ChatGPT, give me 10 questions. It's just going to give you 10 generic questions. This is based on literally your words or the words of whatever the recording is. And now you've got something really, truly valuable there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a difference that actually is important to underscore, because when it's based off of your actual words, your recording, your video or audio, it's sourcing the right thing. It's not just referencing whatever's out there on the internet or what other people have said. And so, to have that just finessed a little bit so that you can have the right words, or you can have certain keywords that you can lean into, I think is really important. One of the other things that I've done as far as usage, obviously for the podcast, we talked about that a little bit, but before I was using Castmagic, I'll be honest, I was not really doing show notes because I found that it was just like, oh, this is such a pain. It takes so much time. I don't even know if anybody's using these. Like, I know, blah, on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then it was finally like, oh, it doesn't have to be difficult. Like, again, it can cull some information from, I'll do that with this episode, right? I'll put it into Castmagic. That's a little meta, right? It's like we're talking about Castmagic. It'll be in Castmagic, extracting things. Hopefully it won't explode. But there'll be things that come out of it that will be helpful as far as, here's categories of things that we talked about, a summary. Here's some keywords that I can use. Here's some potential titles for the title of the podcast, right? Episodes that, I could certainly come up with that stuff on my own, but to have a shortcut again of like, here's 20 different options. And even if you don't like any of them, you take a piece of this and a piece of that, or it spurs another idea, that's still way ahead of the curve and cutting down on the amount of time that it would have taken me to put all that stuff together. And it helps me stay in the game and not feel like this is, like you were talking about before, where it becomes a burden, where you're like, oh man, there's just so much stuff to do with the podcast. And I've been going for so long, and can I keep this up? Is this sustainable? Castmagic enables it so that I can actually get in there, do those things, and then concentrate on the areas that are important to me. So I love, love, love that.
Well, there's so much you can do. I think everyone that's listening is probably like, I've got to go try this. Like, this is incredible. Or they're thinking like, how's this going to help me? I'm like, look, come join. I do all the onboarding calls. Once again, head of relationships. So I want to touch points with all of you. So I will lead you into a training. I'll show you what you need to get done. You'll start seeing it and minds will be blown, going like, oh, wow. And then I get to see like the light bulb moment of like, this is how it's going to make me money. This is how it's going to save me time. This is how it's going to open up my business to things I never like. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening, you probably are like, I wish I could do a newsletter, but that's not my writing. My writing's not my forte. I don't have the time to sit down and do that. Great. Then start taking content from an audio video standpoint, and that will write the newsletter for you. Now you, at least me, I can feel better editing a newsletter that's already written based on my thoughts than sitting there and going like, what is the style? Or to tell people like, you don't know where to start with someone else's piece of content, whether it's an audio or video recording, you can bring that in. If you don't know what to write, great, go find someone else's writing and then have your recording match that style. Like, that's one of my favorite ones. Find people's LinkedIn posts that I like, go, great, I want my recording, so my thoughts, but in the style of their written post, because there's no way I would have thought about writing it like that. I'm not a good person. I don't know hooks. I don't know catchy slogans and all that stuff. I mean, those of you who are listening, like, this is how I talk. This is how I write. So if I can get someone else to go like, oh, this is what Greg's really trying to say. Let's boil that down into a more cohesive structure that fits what an audience would care about. Done.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. So do you offer trials for people, or how does that work? If somebody's listening right now and they're like, okay, I'm interested, but like, what's the next step? And do I have to join something? Am I stuck in a membership? Am I, like, how does all that work?
I mean, look, you're not going to cancel because you're going to find so much love in this. So, are you stuck in something? Yes, you're stuck in it because you're going to find so much value in it that you're not going to want to get rid of it. But no, there is a 7-day free trial. But since those of you that are listening to this, I'm happy to give you all a month free. So the way Castmagic works, it's all minutes based. Minutes being minutes of content that's uploaded. Spend as much time as you want on the platform. That doesn't matter. But if I record, your conversations, your podcasts are like 40 minutes or so, great. I uploaded 40 minutes into my account, and then I can come up with whatever prompts I want. Everything I'm basically describing to you, go to town, have a field day. The only thing that it is just the 40 minutes against your plan, 300, 800 minutes, whatever the case may be. So I'll happily give your listeners, your viewers, your audience here a month free. Promo code is PODMAGIC,
Awesome.
PODMAGIC, all capital. 1 month free. Sign up, do the onboarding call. Let me walk you through, watch the videos I've created, and like, let's just help you make more money.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And thank you for that. Extending that trial I really do believe too that when people are in there, and I don't want to sound, I know we've been talking a lot about the features. We just, it's for some people, this could be like, dude, this sounds like the sales pitch, the infomercial late at night kind of thing. And I could certainly understand that if somebody has no context whatsoever. But even me, like, I'm just excited about this product because it has helped me. And I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not getting paid for that. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't a hard sell thing. This is more of like when you find something that's a tool that helps you do what you're doing better or helps you do more things, like why wouldn't you want to share that with more people, right? Like, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. And so to be able to give people the opportunity to go, yeah, like try this. I mean, I think people will find the tremendous value in it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I mean, I look at that analogy and anything. So everyone that's listening, it's like, look, if someone admires the work you're doing and they come up to you and go like, what tool did you use? Did you use paintbrush? What was this acrylic? Like they're curious, they're intrigued because they're admiring the work you did, but they themselves are like, I want to either do this or I can just admire what you're doing. No one's going to go like, I'm not telling you the tools I've used. Like, no, you want to share that because it's still the other person has to have the talent, has to know how to use the tool, has to want to do that. So that's where the joy is, like, share it. People still have to go and do it on their own or hire someone, I guess. But like, yeah. And then the other side from a podcasting standpoint, a little shameless thing here, but it's like, most podcasters are always trying to figure out how do I make money, how do I monetize, and the monetization they're thinking about is sponsorships or ads. Most podcasters aren't going to reach the scale that you can to start getting those sponsorships and those ads and the dollars that come in. But every company that has a tool you're using has an affiliate program. And I guarantee you, having recorded over 100 episodes, Mike, people probably come to you going like, Mike, how did you start a podcast with tools? I see a mic there. They're like, what mic are you using? You're like, I can put those all in my show notes, put them on my webpage with the little affiliate links like, hey, you want to know how I do what I do? Here's the platform, here are the tools, whatever. So yeah, you can make money on it. There's a way to monetize, but also that opens up all other revenue streams that so many of us creators aren't thinking about because we're so focused on the craft of what we're honed in on, as opposed to all the auxiliary ways we can make money by just doing things we're already doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned before, you guys are always introducing new features and updating things, and so that's appreciated. Is there anything that's coming that maybe you can hint towards, or maybe something that you would love to see as part of it, or that you envision would be really helpful for someone?
So two things that should be coming shortly is if we are the ultimate workspace for all conversations to be repurposed. Well, in order to have that as your tagline, you have to have more ways to bring conversations in. So having a Zoom integration would really help you take those Zoom recordings and bring them into Castmagic quickly because we already have an iPhone app. And the second way, if we want to be the ultimate workspace, well, having more workspace functionality. So how do I know I've used this LinkedIn post? Like if you go into the platform right now, I've got thousands of recordings and I've got thousands prompts of LinkedIn, but I'm like, I don't know which ones I've actually used. Have I posted this? Have I done this one? Do I need to use this one? So bringing in some more of that functionality that allows you to actually have it more of a workspace for you to understand, is this a draft? Is this published? What it may be. So I think as you continue to see Castmagic evolve, our North Star is quality and having good content for you, but also now having a great workspace that you can figure out ways to repurpose your content.
Love it, love it, and always reaching for more and better to help serve people. I mean, that's awesome. And I know that, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think once people are in there, they're going to see so many of these things are going to spark ideas and more options for people that they're not even aware of at this moment. So awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love recording conversations with people and going like, show me how you use Castmagic.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's nuances or we found ways that someone's doing it, great. I take that recording and I've thrown it up in our training docs and our Slack community going like, hey, let's open up the mind, take off the blinders and go, this is how other people are doing it. And then as the business owner, as the creator, as the understanding of your own realm, you're like, I see what they did. I think there's a way to make that more, to either make it better or to do something that whatever your light bulb moment is, I love that. And that's where I keep coming up with, show me. Everyone always loves to go like, what's the most innovative way you've seen it? I'm like, I probably haven't seen it yet because someone hasn't shown me, but I know there's more ways than I've seen. And that's always exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like
So
how
if
to play
someone's-
guitar. There's a
Yeah.
thousand ways to play guitar, and you're always amazed when you find someone else that's figured out how to do it differently, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just following that curiosity of going, how else can somebody do this? What else can they use? What's part of somebody else's process, understanding it, and then figuring out what's right for you. If someone is going, okay, I've heard you guys talk about this. I already like, where's a link? Where can I go? Where can we send people?
I mean, look, let's go back to what I just said. Drop them your affiliate link. So everyone, make sure you sign up using Mike's affiliate account. Use the promo code PodMagic, and come find me on LinkedIn, find me in Slack, and find me inside the app so I can help you all get set up.
Awesome. And that will be in the show notes that I do now have and have had for some time, thanks to Castmagic. Yeah, just awesome. Greg, I want to thank you so much for taking this time to be with us today, for sharing just your insights, for sharing Castmagic and truly the magic that happens within there, and how it can help people in real world solutions, so that they can really get their messages and their thoughts out there in all the places. So thank you again.
Hey, thanks for having me, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us ramble and geek out over Castmagic. But hopefully, there's so much value that you'll find, and I look forward to connecting with you all as you dive in.
Thanks for listening today. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It really helps this podcast be seen and heard by others.